listening to Allman in the Morning. Common Sense Radio.
Hey, hey, hey.
Good morning, you bunch of drunks.
What you got to say? Say, hey, hey, hey. What you got to say?
When I speak, it just comes to pass.
Hollywood.
Well, it looks like anti-Semite Calypso Louis Farrakhan has a harem of sorts. And they're all helping to organize the National School Walkout on the 14th. That's going to be great. You all have kids planning on taking part in the National School Walkout? That is March 14th. And it's supposedly where millions of children will be instructed to demonstrate against guns and will walk out of classes to demonstrate support for gun control. Is your school going to be involved in that, and will you tolerate it? So you've got the...
A lot of schools around here are on spring break.
Oh, and then? Mm-hmm. Well, I guess it's...
I know Rockwood is. We're off next week.
Well, good. Then you're dodging a bullet there, because that would be... That's a reprehensible idea, first of all. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there are a lot of parents out there who are not going to be happy if their kids are coached to walk out of school by these National School, the Parent Teacher Association, the National PTA is involved in this thing now.
And not to be disparaging towards the kids, but that's something that people do because their classmates are doing it or because they're told to, not because they actually care about it.
Right.
And it's the same people who put together the vagina hat protest the day after President Trump's inauguration, the same exact group. It's the Women's March organization. And the co-president of the Women's March organization, Tamika Mallory, was there for Farrakhan's speech last weekend. That's where he talked about Jews having control over the agencies of government. And the guy is anti-Semite. And she was there, and she was praised from the podiums. This is the co-president of the Women's March. That's the name of an organization, the Women's March. She's the co-president of it, and she was specifically praised from the very podium and by Farrakhan for her actions and her activities, specifically praised by Farrakhan himself. And she's repeatedly attended the Farrakhan events, and they're all just a bunch of radical Nation of Islam guys. And isn't that a nice thought? The Nation of Islam wants to take our guns away. The other march leaders have also expressed admiration for Farrakhan. The co-chair of the Women's March called him an inspirational individual. And none of them are the Anti-Defamation League has come out and said, this is outrageous that you all would be having marches and organizing marches, and yet you're rubbing shoulders with this bigot, Farrakhan, and you're not in any way, shape, or form trying to separate yourself from it. So the Women's March then is responsible for organizing the mass National School Walkout. The very same people who associate with this bigot Farrakhan are now organizing the walkout. And also, apparently, local school boards across the country are approving of this. And they may or may not know about the links between the Women's March and Farrakhan. They might not know about it. They might not know about the radical nature of the Women's March in general, and because this whole walkout has the blessing of the national PTA, I'm presuming that there are some hapless school boards out there who don't know what is going on here, the inside of all this, and presume that it's just kind of one of these innocent let's teach the children to get involved in social justice and get them out there. And it's hashtag enough. National School Walkout, March 14th. Women's March with March Youth Empower, and then you have the big fist up there, the Women's March thing.
Ay.
It's really a mess. Mm-hmm. So these are the, keep in mind, Farrakhan also was responsible for the Million Man March back in '85. And so the PTA is the conduit between the Women's March and the school boards allowing this to happen. So presumably, Denise, your whole district has basically avoided
Yes.
the whole thing.
Yeah.
They didn't
It
have
just
the spring
happened.
break on purpose. Just so happens it's during spring break. I don't know what the plan is for the rest of your districts out there. Mm-hmm. Parkway, which is
I don't know if
in the
they're
middle
off
of a
next
pretty
week.
fierce election campaign for the board, though. So you have the March 14th walkout. Then you have the March for Our Lives National March in D.C. That's on the 24th. That's the Planned Parenthood.
Right.
That's where Planned Parenthood is helping organize the March for Our Lives, which is very funny. Then you have the National School Walkout Day. That's on top of this one.
That's another one?
That's on April 20th, which is the 19th anniversary of the shooting at Columbine. So basically, your kids are going to spend spring apparently being coerced by the left to walk out of class. 969-9797.